Businessman fires one of his best employees, when suddenly he sees her wearing his late wife's necklace. When he questions her about the necklace, everyone was left speechless. The office of Andrew Morgan, CEO of Morgan Enterprises, was shrouded in tense silence that Monday morning. The 45-year-old executive, with graying hair and deep brown eyes, looked out the window overlooking New York City, his thoughts lost in the task ahead. Restructuring the company was necessary, but that didn't make it any easier. A soft knock on the door pulled him from his reverie. "Come in," he said, turning to face his visitor. Catherine Sanders, his personal assistant, entered with a folder in hand. "Mr. Morgan, here's the file you requested. Miss Lily Walker is waiting outside for your meeting." Andrew nodded, taking the folder. "Thank you, Catherine. Send her in 5 minutes." As he reviewed the file, Andrew couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Lily Walker had been an exemplary employee for the past 3 years. Her work in the marketing department had been impeccable, but the merger with another company made some cuts inevitable. Exactly 5 minutes later, the door opened again. Lily Walker entered, her posture erect and her gaze determined. She was a young woman, about 28 years old, with dark brown hair and green eyes that sparkled with intelligence. "Good morning, Mr. Morgan," Lily greeted, her voice firm despite the evident tension in her shoulders. "Good morning, Miss Walker. Please, have a seat," Andrew replied, indicating the chair in front of his desk. Lily sat down, her hands resting gently on her lap. It was then that Andrew noticed it, a delicate necklace adorning her neck. It was a simple piece, a small crescent moon-shaped pendant with a blue stone inlaid. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. "That necklace," Andrew muttered, unable to look away. Lily instinctively brought her hand to the necklace. "Excuse me?" Andrew blinked, trying to regain his composure. "I'm sorry, it's just... it looks familiar. May I ask where you got it?" A shadow of confusion crossed Lily's face. "Oh, this necklace. It's a gift from my adoptive mother. She gave it to me when I turned 18. She told me it had belonged to my biological mother." Andrew's heart skipped a beat. That necklace, identical to the one his late wife, Emma, always wore, the same one that had mysteriously disappeared shortly before they met, over 20 years ago. "Mr. Morgan, are you all right?" Lily asked, concerned about the sudden change in the executive's demeanor. Andrew cleared his throat, struggling to maintain his composure. "Yes, I'm fine. I apologize, Miss Walker. Let's get back to the matter at hand." With superhuman effort, Andrew began to explain the company's situation and the need to reduce staff. However, his mind was elsewhere, trying to process the information he had just received. Lily listened attentively, her expression changing from confusion to concern and finally to resignation. "I understand, Mr. Morgan," she said when he finished speaking. "I appreciate the opportunity I've been given at this company. When will be my last day?" Andrew looked at her, his mind still reeling. I need to review some details. How about we meet again in a couple of days? In the meantime, continue with your usual tasks." Lily nodded. Clearly surprised by this unexpected turn, she stood up, ready to leave, but Andrew stopped her. "Miss Walker, one last question, if I may. Do you know anything else about your biological mother?" Lily's eyes widened in surprise at the question. "Not much, I'm afraid. I only know that she gave me up for adoption when I was a newborn. My adoptive mother never wanted to go into details." "Why do you ask?" Andrew shook his head, forcing a smile. "Just curiosity. Thank you for your time, Miss Walker." When the door closed behind Lily, Andrew collapsed into his chair, his mind a whirlwind of questions and possibilities. The necklace, Lily's age, the dates. Everything seemed to fit into a puzzle he never knew existed. With trembling hands, he opened his desk drawer and took out an old photograph. In it, Emma smiled at the camera, the same crescent moon necklace shining on her neck. Andrew caressed the image tenderly, his eyes filling with tears. "Oh, Emma," he whispered, "what secrets did you take with you?" At that moment, Andrew Morgan made a decision. Not only would he not fire Lily Walker, but he would do everything possible to uncover the truth behind that necklace and the possible connection between Lily and his late wife. As the afternoon sun bathed New York City, A new chapter in Andrew and Lily's lives was about to begin, one that would change their lives forever. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for Andrew Morgan. On one hand, he had to maintain the facade of an unflappable CEO, making tough decisions for the company's restructuring. On the other, his mind couldn't stop spinning around the mystery surrounding Lily Walker and her possible connection to Emma. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings, Andrew found himself in front of the building where Sophia Henderson, Emma's best friend and closest confidant, lived. With his heart racing, he rang the doorbell. Sophia, a woman in her early 50s with silver hair and kind eyes, opened the door. Her face went from surprise to delight upon seeing Andrew. "Andrew, what a pleasant surprise. Come in, please." Once in the living room with a cup of coffee in hand, Andrew went straight to the point. "Sophia, I need to ask you something about Emma. Something important." Sophia's smile faltered for a moment. "Of course, Andrew. What is it about?" Andrew took a deep breath. "Did Emma have a daughter before we met?" The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia turned pale, her hands trembling slightly as she set her cup on the table. How did you know?" she finally whispered. The confirmation hit Andrew like a hammer. Despite his suspicions, a part of him had hoped he was wrong. "The necklace," he replied, his voice barely audible. "I saw it on a young woman who works at my company, Lily Walker. She told me it belonged to her biological mother." Sophia closed her eyes, as if the weight of a long-kept secret had finally caught up with her. "Oh, Emma," she murmured, "forgive me." "Please, Sophia," Andrew pleaded, "I need to know the truth." With a deep sigh, Sophia began to speak. It was almost 30 years ago. Emma had just turned 18. She fell madly in love with a young musician, Ryan. It was an intense but brief love. When Ryan got an opportunity to go on tour with his band, Emma discovered she was pregnant. Andrew listened, stunned away as Sophia continued her story. Emma was scared. Her parents were very conservative, and she feared their reaction. Besides, she felt she wasn't ready to be a mother. After much thought, she decided to give the baby up for adoption. "And you helped her?" Andrew asked, connecting the dots. Sophia nodded. "I knew a couple who couldn't have children. They were good people. Emma trusted me to handle the whole process. It was difficult, but she believed it was best for the baby." "The necklace," Andrew began. "It was Emma's grandmother's," Sophia explained. "She wanted her daughter to have something that connected her to her roots, even if she couldn't raise her. She asked me to give it to the adoptive family, hoping that someday they would give it to the girl." Andrew stood up, walking to the window. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions: shock, confusion, sadness, but also a strange sense of awe. "Why did Emma never tell me?" he asked, his voice broken. Sophia approached, putting a comforting hand on his shoulder. "She wanted to, Andrew, many times, but she was afraid of your reaction, afraid of stirring up the past. And then, when she got sick..." Andrew closed his eyes, remembering Emma's last months, consumed by cancer. "She didn't want to leave me with that burden," he concluded. "Exactly," Sophia nodded. "But now that you know, what do you plan to do?" Andrew turned, a new determination shining in his eyes. "I need to know more about Lily. I need to be sure." "Be careful, Andrew," Sophia warned. "This revelation could change many lives, not just yours and Lily's, but also her adoptive family's." Andrew nodded, aware of the delicate ground he was about to tread. "I know, but I can't ignore it. Sophia, if Lily is really Emma's daughter, I have to know. I owe it to Emma, and I owe it to myself." Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Lily Walker entered her small apartment, exhausted after another day of work. The uncertainty about her future in the company weighed on her, but there was something else that troubled her. Mr. Morgan's strange reaction when he saw her necklace sitting on her bed. Lily held the pendant between her fingers, looking at it thoughtfully. She had always felt a special connection with this jewel, as if somehow it brought her closer to the mother she never knew. Now that feeling was stronger than ever. "Who are you really, Mum?" Lily whispered to the empty room. "And why do I feel like I'm about to find out?" What Lily didn't know was that, at that very moment, Andrew Morgan was making decisions that would change the course of both their lives forever. Fate had set in motion a series of events that would soon reveal long-buried secrets and forge connections that neither of them could have imagined possible. As night fell over New York City, both Andrew and Lily prepared, unknowingly, for an emotional journey that would lead them to face painful truths, overcome unexpected obstacles, and perhaps find a new definition of family. The next morning dawned grey and rainy in New York City, as if the weather reflected the emotional storm raging inside Andrew Morgan. Sitting in his office, his gaze lost in the raindrops sliding down the window, the executive mentally reviewed his conversation with Sophia. A knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. "Come in," he said, straightening in his chair. Lily Walker entered, with a folder in her hand and an expression of slight concern on her face. "Good morning, Mr. Morgan. I bring the report you asked for on the new marketing campaign." Andrew observed her with new eyes, looking for some trace of Emma in her features. How had he not noticed it before? That way of slightly tilting her head, the determined gleam in her green eyes. Everything screamed Emma. "Thank you, Lily," he said, taking the folder. Then, on an impulse, he added, "Do you have a few minutes? I'd like to discuss something with you." Lily nodded, intrigued. "Of course, sir. Please sit down," Andrew indicated, pointing to the chair in front of his desk. "First, I want you to know that your position in the company is secure. The restructuring won't affect your department." The relief on Lily's face was evident. "Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I really appreciate this opportunity." Andrew nodded, gathering courage for what he was about to say. "Lily, there's another matter I'd like to discuss with you. It's of a more personal nature." The young woman looked at him curiously. "Personal, sir?" "Yes," Andrew continued. "It's about your necklace. The one you mentioned belonged to your biological mother." Lily instinctively brought her hand to the pendant. "What about it?" Andrew took a deep breath. "I think I might have information about its origin, about your biological mother." Lily's eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and hope shining in them. "Oh, how is that possible? Did you know my mother?" "It's a complicated story, Lily," Andrew responded softly, "and I'm not completely sure of all the details, but if you're willing, I'd like to investigate further, together." Lily remained silent for a moment, processing the information. When she spoke, her voice trembled slightly. "All my life, I've wanted to know more about my origins. My adoptive parents are wonderful, but there's always been a void, a part of me that was missing. If you can help me fill that void, Mr. Morgan, I'll be eternally grateful." Andrew felt a lump in his throat. "Lily, if my suspicions are correct, this could change our lives in ways we can't even imagine. Are you sure you want to go ahead?" Lily nodded with determination. "I'm sure. I need to know the truth, whatever it may be." "Well," said Andrew, sketching a small smile. "Then, how about we start by having dinner together tonight? There's a lot to talk about." Meanwhile, in an elegant restaurant on the other side of the city, Sophia Henderson was meeting with Martin Walker, Lily's adoptive father. Martin, a man in his early 60s, with graying hair and kind eyes, listened with growing concern to Sophia's account. "Are you sure about this, Sophia?" Martin asked, his voice laden with emotion. "After so many years." Sophia nodded sadly. "Andrew has started to put the pieces together, Martin, and knowing Lily, it won't take her long to do the same. I think it's better if we're prepared." Martin ran a hand over his face, visibly agitated. "Isabel and I always knew this day might come. But now that it's here, my God, how are we going to tell Lily?" "With love and honesty," Sophia replied, putting a comforting hand on Martin's. "Lily loves you. Nothing will change that. But what if she wants to meet her biological family? What if she decides she doesn't need us anymore?" Martin's voice broke at the end. "Martin," Sophia said firmly, "you are her parents, the ones who raised her, who loved her unconditionally all these years. Nothing can change that, but Lily deserves to know the truth about her origins, and maybe, just maybe, this can bring more love into her life, not less." Martin nodded slowly, trying to assimilate everything. "You're right, of course, it's difficult." I know, Sophia said softly, but I'll be here to support you every step of the way. I owe it to Emma, and I owe it to you for having taken such good care of Lily all these years. While Sophia and Martin continued their conversation, preparing for the changes that were coming, Lily and Andrew found themselves in a small Italian restaurant, ready to begin their own exploration of the past. The atmosphere was charged with expectation and nervousness. Lily fiddled with her necklace, while Andrew observed her, trying to find the right words to begin. "Lily," he finally said, "before we start, I want you to know that whatever happens, your place in the company is assured. This has nothing to do with your work." Lily nodded, grateful. "Thank you, Mr. Morgan. But honestly, at this moment, my job is the last thing on my mind. Please, tell me what you know about my mother." Andrew took a breath and began to speak. He told her about Emma, about how they had met and fallen in love, about their life together, and her tragic premature death. And then, with a trembling voice, he told her about the necklace and Sophia's revelation. Lily listened, her eyes filling with tears as the story unfolded. When Andrew finished, there was a long silence. "So," Lily finally said, her voice barely a whisper, "you think your wife, Emma, could be my biological mother?" Andrew nodded. "It's a very real possibility, Lily, but we need to be sure. There are tests we can do, people we can talk to." "And if it's true," Lily interrupted, her voice mixing fear and hope, "what does that mean for us?" Andrew looked into her eyes, feeling a connection that went beyond boss and employee, beyond even the possibility of being stepfather and stepdaughter. "I don't know, Lily, but if it's true, it means we're no longer alone, that we have a family, albeit one that neither of us expected." Lily nodded, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. "I always wanted to know where I came from, who my biological parents were, but now that I might be about to find out, I'm terrified." Andrew extended his hand across the table, taking Lily's in a gesture of comfort. "We're in this together, Lily. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." As the night progressed, Lily and Andrew continued talking, sharing stories, fears, and hopes. As they opened up to each other, a new connection began to form, one based on mutual understanding and the promise of a shared future, whatever the truth they might discover. What neither of them knew was that, at that very moment, Martin Walker was arriving home, preparing to have a difficult conversation with his wife Isabel about the future of the daughter they had raised and loved for almost 3 decades. Fate had set in motion a series of events that would soon shake the foundations of several families, revealing long-kept secrets and testing the bonds of love and loyalty. The days following the dinner between Lily and Andrew were a whirlwind of emotions and discoveries. They had agreed to take a DNA test to confirm their suspicions, but the process seemed endless. While waiting for the results, life continued, although nothing felt the same. At the office, Lily and Andrew maintained a facade of professionalism, but employees couldn't help but notice the meaningful glances and hushed conversations. Rumors began to circulate, some speculating about a secret romance, others about possible changes in the company structure. Catherine, Andrew's assistant, observed everything with a mixture of curiosity and concern. One afternoon, she could no longer contain her unease and approached her boss's office. "Mr. Morgan," she said after closing the door behind her, "excuse my boldness, but is everything all right? You've been different lately." Andrew looked at her, weighing how much he could reveal. Finally, he decided he needed an ally. "Catherine, what I'm about to tell you must stay between us. It's a personal and delicate matter." Meanwhile, in the Walker home, the tension was palpable. Martin had shared with Isabel the news that Lily's biological family might have appeared. Isabel, a petite woman with chestnut hair and warm eyes, had received the news with a mixture of fear and resignation. "We knew this day might come," Isabel said, her voice barely a whisper. "But, my God, I'm not prepared to lose her." Martin hugged his wife tightly. "Joe, we won't lose her, my love. Lily loves us. We're her parents, the ones who raised her, who were there for every important moment of her life. But what if she wants to go with them? What if she decides she doesn't need us anymore?" Tears were flowing freely down Isabel's face. "Then we'll have to trust that the love we've given her all these years will be enough to keep her close to us," Martin replied, though his voice betrayed his own fear. That night, when Lily arrived home, she found her parents sitting in the living room with serious expressions. Her heart skipped a beat, sensing that something important was about to happen. "Lily, honey, please sit down," Isabel said, patting the sofa beside her. "We have something important to tell you." Lily sat down, her mind racing. Had they discovered her meeting with Andrew? Did they know something about her search? Martin took his daughter's hand in his. "Lily, we've always told you that you're adopted, that we chose you to be our daughter, and that will never change. But information has come up about your biological family." Lily felt as if the air had been expelled from her lungs. She hadn't expected her parents to know anything. What do you know?" she managed to ask. Isabel intervened, her voice trembling. "Your biological mother. Her name was Emma, and it seems you have a stepfather, so to speak. Someone who was married to her and who has just discovered your existence." Lily closed her eyes, trying to process the information. Her parents knew. They knew about Emma. They knew about Andrew. How did you know?" "Sophia Henderson," Martin replied. "The woman who arranged your adoption. She contacted us a few days ago." The silence that followed was deafening. Lily looked alternately at her parents, seeing the fear and love in their eyes. Suddenly, she realized how difficult it must have been for them to keep this secret, to face the possibility of losing her. "Mom, Dad," she finally said, her voice breaking, "you are my parents. Nothing will change that. I love you, and I will always love you." Isabel and Martin enveloped her in a hug, the three of them crying together, releasing years of tension and secrets. When they finally separated, Lily took a deep breath and decided it was time for her own confession. "There's something you should know. I've been in contact with Andrew Morgan, Emma's husband. In fact, he's my boss at Morgan Enterprises." The surprise on her parents' faces was evident. "Your boss?" Isabel exclaimed. "Oh, Lily, why didn't you tell us?" "Because I'm barely processing it myself," Lily replied. "Everything happened so fast. The necklace, Andrew's suspicions, the possibility that Emma was my mother. It's as if suddenly my life had turned into a soap opera." Martin chuckled softly at the comparison. "Life sometimes surpasses fiction, doesn't it?" Lily nodded, grateful for the moment of levity. Then, more seriously, she continued, "Andrew and we've decided to take a DNA test, to be sure." Isabel squeezed her daughter's hand. "Are you sure you want to do this, honey? Once you know the truth, there's no going back." Lily looked at her parents, the love she felt for them mixing with curiosity and hope for what she might discover. "I'm sure. I need to know. But I want you to know that, whatever happens, you will always be my parents. You will always be my family." Meanwhile, in his luxurious penthouse, Andrew found himself in front of an old photo album. Smiling images of Emma looked at him from the pages, reminding him of happier times. But now, each photo brought new questions. How long had Emma kept this secret? Would she have ever wanted to tell him? The sound of his phone pulled him from his thoughts. It was a message from Lily. "I talked to my parents. They know everything. Can we meet tomorrow?" Andrew replied quickly. "Of course, in my office after work." As he prepared for bed, Andrew couldn't help but feel a mixture of anxiety and hope. Tomorrow would be a crucial day. Tomorrow, perhaps, the pieces of the puzzle would finally start to fit together. What none of them knew was that, at that very moment, Sophia Henderson was receiving a call that would change the course of events. A voice from the past, a voice she thought she would never hear again. "Sophia, it's Ryan Mitchell. I'm back in New York and I need to talk to you about Emma and about our daughter." Sophia's heart stopped for a moment. Just when she thought things couldn't get more complicated, Lily's biological father appeared on the scene. The storm that was brewing promised to be more intense than any of them could have imagined. The next morning dawned with a leaden sky over New York City, as if the weather foreshadowed the emotional storm that was about to break. Sophia Henderson hadn't been able to sleep all night, Ryan Mitchell's voice echoing in her ears like an echo from the past. With trembling hands, Sophia dialed Andrew's number. When he answered, his voice sounded tired, as if he hadn't slept much either. "Andrew, we need to talk," Sophia said without preamble. "A complication has arisen." "What's going on, Sophia?" Andrew asked, concern evident in his voice. "Ryan is back," Sophia replied, her voice barely a whisper. "Ryan Mitchell, Lily's biological father." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. When Andrew finally spoke, his voice was a mixture of shock and disbelief. Why now?" "I don't know," Sophia admitted, "but he wants to talk about Emma and about Lily. Andrew, this could change everything." Meanwhile, at Morgan Enterprises' offices, Lily arrived early, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions after the conversation with her parents the night before. As she entered the building, she noticed that employees were looking at her differently, some with curiosity, others with a mixture of respect and fear. Catherine, Andrew's assistant, intercepted her in the hallway. "Good morning, Lily," she said with a tense smile. "Mr. Morgan wants to see you in his office immediately." Lily nodded, her heart racing. Had the DNA test results already arrived? As she headed to Andrew's office, she couldn't help but notice that Catherine was following her with her gaze, an expression of concern on her face. Upon entering the office, Lily was surprised to see not only Andrew but also Sophia Henderson. The tension in the room was palpable. "Lily, please, sit down," Andrew said, his voice grave. "There's something we need to discuss." Lily took a seat, her gaze alternating between Andrew and Sophia. "What's going on? Is it the test results?" Sophia shook her head. "No, Lily. It's about your biological father." The world seemed to stop for Lily. My biological father?" Andrew took the floor, his voice soft but firm. "His name is Ryan Mitchell. He is a musician, and he's just returned to New York." Lily gasped, her mind trying to process this new information. "Does he know about me? Does he want to meet me?" "It seems so," Sophia replied. "Lily, I know this is a lot to take in, but there's more. Ryan, he didn't know about your existence until recently. Emma never told him she was pregnant." Tears began to form in Lily's eyes. "Why? Why did they abandon me? Why so much secrecy?" Andrew approached, putting a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. "Emma was very young, Lily. She was scared and believed she was doing what was best for you. And now, Ryan wants the opportunity to meet you." Lily stood up abruptly, the room suddenly seeming too small. It's too much. First I discover that my boss could be my stepfather. Then my adoptive parents reveal they knew more than they had told me. And now my biological father wants to enter my life. How am I supposed to handle all of this?" Sophia approached, her eyes full of understanding and guilt. "I'm so sorry, Lily. I never wanted things to get this complicated. I just wanted to protect everyone." Lily looked at her, a mixture of anger and confusion on her face. "Protect us? By lying? By hiding the truth?" "Lily," Andrew intervened, his voice calm, "I know this is overwhelming, but we're here for you. All of us. Your adoptive parents, Sophia, me, and if you wish, Ryan too. You don't have to face this alone." Andrew's words seemed to penetrate the fog of confusion in Lily's mind. Slowly, she sank back into the chair, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. "I don't know what to do," she admitted in a whisper. "I don't know who I am anymore." Andrew knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. "You're Lily. You're intelligent, strong, and compassionate. You're the daughter that Martin and Isabel Walker raised with love. You're the daughter that Emma wanted to protect. And maybe, just maybe, you're the family I didn't know I needed." Lily looked at him, seeing in his eyes the same pain and confusion she felt. For a moment, all barriers fell, and they hugged, sharing their pain and hope. Sophia watched them, silent tears running down her cheeks. She knew that her past actions had contributed to this moment, and she vowed to herself that she would do everything possible to help heal the wounds she had helped create. Meanwhile, in a small cafe on the other side of the city, Ryan Mitchell waited nervously. At 50, the wrinkles on his face and the grey at his temples spoke of a life full of music and travel, but also of regrets and lost opportunities. When he saw Martin and Isabel Walker enter the cafe, His heart skipped a beat. The walkers approached his table, their faces a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Mr. Mitchell?" Martin asked. Ryan stood up, extending his hand. "Yes, that's me. Please, sit down. I appreciate you agreeing to meet with me." Isabel looked at him intently, searching his features for any resemblance to Lily. "Why now?" she asked bluntly. "Why after so many years?" Ryan lowered his gaze, the guilt evident on his face. "Because I just found out. Because for almost 30 years, I had no idea I had a daughter. And because I want to do the right thing, even if it's late." Martin took his wife's hand, his voice firm when he spoke. "Lily is our daughter, Mr. Mitchell. We've raised her. We've loved her. We've been there for every important moment of her life. What exactly do you hope to achieve with this?" Ryan looked at them, his eyes full of a mixture of determination and pleading. "I'm not here to take your daughter away. I'm here because I want to meet her, because I want to have the opportunity to explain, to ask for forgiveness, and maybe, if she allows it, to be part of her life in some way." Isabel and Martin exchanged a glance. They knew the final decision would be Lily's, but they also knew that what they said and did now could influence that decision. "Mr. Mitchell," Isabel finally said, her voice soft but firm, "we understand your desire to meet Lily, but you must understand that this is incredibly difficult for all of us, especially for her. If we're going to allow you to approach our daughter, we need to be sure that your intentions are genuine and that you're not going to hurt her." Ryan nodded solemnly. "I understand. And I promise you, I'll do things your way. I just want the opportunity to make things right this time." While this conversation was taking place, Lily, Andrew, and Sophia were still in the office, trying to chart a plan to navigate the turbulent waters ahead. What none of them knew was that soon, very soon, all the threads of this complicated web of relationships and secrets would converge, forcing them to face painful truths and make decisions that would change their lives forever. The storm that was brewing promised to be intense, but it also brought with it the possibility of clearing the air, healing old wounds, and perhaps forging new and stronger family ties. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for everyone involved. Lily felt as if she were walking on a tightrope, trying to maintain balance between her family life, her work, and the new revelations about her past. One afternoon, as Lily was working in her office and trying to concentrate on an important report, she received a message from Andrew. "The DNA test results have arrived. Can we meet in my office in 15 minutes? Lily's heart skipped a beat. This was the moment of truth. With trembling hands, she saved her work and headed to Andrew's office. Upon entering, she found not only Andrew, but also Sophia. And, to her surprise, her adoptive parents, Martin and Isabel. "Lily, sweetie," Isabel said, approaching to hug her. "We wanted to be here with you for this." Lily looked around, overwhelmed by the support, but also aware of the tension in the air. "Thank you," she murmured. "Well, what do the results say?" Andrew took an envelope from the desk and handed it to Lily. "I think you should be the one to open it," he said softly. With trembling hands, Lily opened the envelope and pulled out the document. Her eyes quickly scanned the paper, stopping at the crucial line. She looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "It's positive," she whispered. "Emma is my biological mother." The silence that followed was deafening. Andrew approached Lily, his own eyes bright with emotion. "Lily, I don't know what to say, except that, if you allow it, I'd like to be part of your life, not to replace your parents, but to be a connection to Emma, to your past." Martin stepped forward, putting a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "Mr. Morgan, we understand your desire to connect with Lily, but you must understand that this is a lot to process. Lily needs time." Andrew nodded, respecting Martin's position. "Of course, I completely understand." Lily looked at her adoptive parents, then at Andrew, and finally at Sophia. I need a moment," she said, and quickly left the office. Meanwhile, in a recording studio on the other side of the city, Ryan Mitchell was trying to concentrate on his music, but his mind was elsewhere. Since his return to New York and his discovery of Lily's existence, He felt like a man divided between his past and an uncertain future. His phone vibrated with a message from Sophia. The results confirmed that Emma was Lily's mother. She knows now. Give her time. Ryan closed his eyes, a mixture of relief and anxiety flooding him. His daughter, the daughter he never knew he had, now knew the truth about her mother. But would she be willing to meet her father? Back at Morgan Enterprises, Lily found herself on the roof of the building, trying to process everything that had happened. The city wind played with her hair as she looked at the horizon, searching for answers in the afternoon sky. Lily, Catherine's voice, Andrew's assistant, pulled her from her thoughts. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you, but are you okay? Lily turned, surprised to see Catherine there. I don't know, she admitted. Everything is so complicated now. Catherine approached, offering her an understanding smile. I've worked for Mr. Morgan for years. I've never seen him so alive as since he discovered your connection with Emma. I know it's complicated, but I think he really cares about you. Lily nodded slowly. I know, and I care about him too. It's just that I'm afraid of losing myself in all of this, of disappointing my parents, of not being what Andrew expects, of not knowing how to handle the existence of a biological father I didn't even know existed. Catherine put a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. No one expects you to have all the answers right now. Take your time. And remember, you have more people on your side than you think. Meanwhile, in Andrew's office, the tension was palpable. Martin and Isabel were preparing to leave. But before they did, Martin turned to Andrew. Mr. Morgan, he said, his voice firm but not hostile. We understand your connection to Lily through Emma, but you must understand that we are her parents. We've been there for every moment of her life. We won't allow anything or anyone to hurt her. Andrew nodded solemnly. I understand, Mr. Walker, and I want you to know that I have no intention of replacing you. I just want the opportunity to get to know Lily, to be part of her life in some way. I promise you that I'll respect your boundaries and Lily's. Isabel, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. Mr. Morgan, Sophia, there's something else you should know. We've talked to Ryan Mitchell. The surprise on Andrew and Sophia's faces was evident. What? When? Sophia asked, her voice barely a whisper. A few days ago, Martin replied. He wanted our permission to approach Lily. We told him the final decision would be hers. Andrew ran a hand over his face, trying to process this new information. This complicates everything even more, he muttered. We know, Isabel said, but we believe Lily has the right to know the whole truth, to make her own decisions. We just ask that you be patient, that you give her space to process all of this. While this conversation was taking place, Lily was returning to the office, feeling a little more centered after her chat with Catherine. As she entered, she could feel the tension in the atmosphere. What's going on? She asked, looking at the serious faces of everyone present. Martin approached his daughter, taking her hands in his. Lily, honey, there's something else you need to know. It's about your biological father. Lily felt as if the floor was moving beneath her feet. My biological father. Isabel joined them, hugging Lily. His name is Ryan Mitchell. He's a musician and he's returned to New York. He wants to meet you. The room began to spin for Lily. It was too much, too fast. I need air, she managed to say before running out of the office. Andrew made a move to follow her, but Sophia stopped him. Give her space, Andrew. This is a lot to process. Meanwhile, Lily ran through the city streets, aimlessly, trying to escape the avalanche of emotions that threatened to drown her. Without realizing it, her steps led her to a small park where she used to play as a child. She sat on a swing, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. It was then that she noticed a man sitting on a nearby bench, softly playing a guitar. The melody was sad and beautiful, and for a moment, Lily lost herself in the music. The man looked up, his eyes meeting Lily's. For an instant, time seemed to stand still. There was something in those eyes, something familiar yet unknown. That song, Lily said, her voice barely a whisper. It's beautiful. The man smiled softly. Thank you. I wrote it a long time ago. For someone very special I lost. Lily nodded. feeling a strange connection with this stranger. I've lost someone too. Someone I never knew, but who I now know was part of me. The man looked at her with curiosity and something else, recognition. Sometimes, he said softly, the people we lose find ways to come back to us, even if in unexpected ways. Lily stared at him, a suspicion forming in her mind. Are you Ryan Mitchell? The man nodded slowly, his eyes filling with tears. And you must be Lily. The world seemed to stop at that moment. Father and daughter, separated by decades of secrets and circumstances, looked at each other, recognizing in the other a part of themselves they never knew was missing. What neither of them knew was that this chance encounter in a park would be just the beginning of an emotional journey that would test family ties, challenge old loyalties, and perhaps open the door to new possibilities of love and forgiveness. The silence in the park seemed to stretch to infinity as Lily and Ryan looked at each other intently, decades of unspoken secrets and longings floating between them like a thick mist. I don't know what to say, Lily mumbled, her voice barely audible. Ryan set his guitar aside, his hands visibly shaking. Lily, there's so much I want to tell you, so much to explain, but I know I have no right to burst into your life like this. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, trying to sort out the whirlwind of emotions that overwhelmed her. When she opened them again, her gaze was a mixture of curiosity and caution. Why now? Why after so many years? Ryan sighed deeply. Because I didn't know, Lily. I didn't know of your existence until very recently. Your mother, Emma. She never told me she was pregnant. The revelation hit Lily like a wave. You never knew all these years? All these years I lived with the regret of having let Emma go, not knowing that I had left much more behind, Ryan replied, his voice breaking. When Sophia contacted me and told me the truth, I felt like the world was crumbling and rebuilding at the same time. Lily stood up from the swing, slowly approaching Ryan. There's so much I don't understand, so much I don't know about my own history. Ryan nodded. I know. And if you'll allow me, I'd like to tell you everything. About Emma, about our story, about the music that brought us together, and the circumstances that tore us apart. At that moment, Lily's phone vibrated insistently. It was Andrew. Lily, where are you? We're all very worried. Lily looked at Ryan and then at her phone. I'm in the park near the office. And I'm with Ryan Mitchell. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Finally, Andrew spoke, his voice tense but controlled. Are you okay? Do you need us to come? Lily took a deep breath. I'm okay, but I think we need to talk. All of us. Can you come to the park? You, my parents, Sophia. I think it's time for all the truths to come out. An hour later, the small park had become the stage for a family reunion like no other. Martin and Isabel arrived first, their faces a mixture of concern and unconditional love as they saw Lily sitting next to Ryan. Andrew and Sophia arrived shortly after, the tension evident in their postures. Lily stood up, looking at all the people who, in one way or another, were part of her story. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice firm despite the trembling in her hands. I know this is difficult for everyone, but I think it's time we stop hiding behind secrets and half-truths. Martin stepped forward, his gaze fixed on Ryan. Lily, honey, are you sure about this? Lily nodded. Dad, Mom, you are and always will be my parents. Nothing will change that, but I need to know the truth, the whole truth about my origins. Isabel approached, hugging her daughter. We're here for you, my love, no matter what happens. Andrew, who had remained silent until now, spoke. Lily, I know all of this must be overwhelming for you, but I want you to know that as Emma's husband, I'm here to support you in whatever you need. Ryan stood up, facing the group. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here, especially Martin and Isabel, for having raised Lily with so much love, and you, Andrew, for having loved Emma and for wanting to be part of Lily's life now. Sophia, with tears in her eyes, took the floor. I think it's time I tell the whole story, from the beginning. I owe that to all of you." And so, sitting in that small park, under the shade of old trees that had witnessed so many stories, Sophia began to unravel the skein of secrets and decisions that had led to this moment. She spoke of Emma and Ryan, young and in love, with dreams bigger than their fears, of how music brought them together, and how life circumstances threatened to tear them apart. Of Emma's difficult decision to hide her pregnancy from Ryan, fearing it would tie him down and prevent him from pursuing his dreams. She told of Emma's months of anguish, of her decision to give Lily up for adoption, believing it was best for everyone, of how she, Sophia, had been the bridge between Emma and the Walkers, ensuring that Lily went to a home full of love. She spoke of the following years, of how Emma had struggled with her decision, of how she had finally found peace and love with Andrew, although the memory of her daughter was always present. As Sophia spoke, tears flowed freely down the faces of all present. Lily listened, her heart torn between the pain for the mother she never knew and the love for the parents who had raised her. When Sophia finished her account, a silence charged with emotions fell over the group. It was Lily who finally broke the silence. "All my life I've felt that a part of me was missing," she said, her voice broken but firm. "Now I understand why, but I also understand that I have more love in my life than I ever imagined." She turned to Martin and Isabel. "You are my parents, the ones who raised me, who loved me unconditionally. That will never change." Then she looked at Andrew. "You are my connection to Emma, to the mother I never knew but who I now know loved me enough to make the ultimate sacrifice." Finally, she turned to Ryan. "And you are a part of me that I'm just discovering. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but I'm willing to find out." Ryan, with tears in his eyes, nodded. "Thank you, Lily. I don't deserve less than what you're willing to give." Andrew stepped forward, his face a mask of contained emotions. "Lily, there's something else you need to know, something I've been postponing telling you because I was afraid." Everyone turned to him, the tension palpable in the air. "A few weeks ago, before all of this came to light, I went to the doctor for some routine tests," Andrew continued, his voice trembling slightly. "The results weren't what I expected." Lily felt her heart racing. "What do you mean, Andrew?" Andrew took a deep breath before continuing. "I've been diagnosed with a degenerative disease. It's treatable but not curable. The doctors say that with proper treatment, I can have a good quality of life for many years, but..." He couldn't finish the sentence. Lily, on an impulse, approached and hugged him tightly. "Oh, Andrew," she whispered, "I'm so sorry." Martin and Isabel looked at each other, concern evident on their faces. Ryan, for his part, seemed to be struggling with his own emotions. Sophia, with tears in her eyes, spoke. "Andrew, why didn't you say anything before?" Andrew, still in Lily's embrace, replied, "I didn't want this to influence anything. I wanted Lily to get to know me for who I am, not for my condition." Lily pulled away slightly, looking Andrew in the eyes. "This doesn't change anything, Andrew. If anything, it makes me want to know you even more, to be part of your life." Ryan stepped forward, surprising everyone. "Andrew, I know we barely know each other and that our connection is more complicated, but if there's anything I can do to help, anything at all..." Andrew looked at him, surprised by the gesture. "Thank you, Ryan. That means a lot." Martin, who had remained silent, spoke. "I think I speak for everyone when I say that. Despite how complicated this situation is, we're all in this together, as a family." Isabel nodded, adding, "An unconventional family, perhaps, but a family nonetheless." Lily looked around, at all these people who, in one way or another, were part of her history, her present, and her future. She felt a wave of love and gratitude so intense it almost overwhelmed her. "We have a lot to process, a lot to talk about," Lily said. "But I think for the first time in my life, I feel complete. And I know that, together, we can face anything that comes our way." As the sun began to set over the park, painting the sky in warm hues, this unconventional group joined in a group hug. Tears, laughter, and silent promises mingled in that moment, sealing a pact of love, forgiveness, and hope. What the future held for them was uncertain. The road wouldn't be easy, with Andrew's illness, complex relationships to navigate, and years of secrets to unravel. But at that moment, under the sunset sky, they all felt that, together, they could face any challenge life presented them. Lily's story, which had begun with secrets and separation, was now opening up to a future full of possibilities, love, and above all, the promise of a family united despite all adversities. 5 years had passed since that day in the park, when all the truths came to light and an unconventional family began to forge. Time, far from eroding the newly formed bonds, had strengthened them, creating a network of love and support that had surpassed all expectations. It was a sunny Sunday morning, and the spacious terrace of Andrew's house was bustling with activity. Lily, now 33 and the marketing director of Morgan Enterprises, moved among the guests with natural grace, her radiant smile lighting up her face. "Mom, Dad," she called, approaching Martin and Isabel, who were chatting animatedly with Sophia. "Have you seen Andrew? The cake is about to arrive, and I want to make sure he's here to blow out the candles." Isabel smiled, hugging her daughter. "I think I saw him in the study with Ryan. They were tuning the guitars for the musical surprise." Lily nodded, a mixture of emotions reflected in her eyes. It still seemed like a miracle to her how, in these 5 years, all the pieces of her life had fit together in a way she never could have imagined. She headed to the study, but stopped at the door upon hearing Andrew and Ryan's voices. "And then Emma looked at me with those eyes that could light up an entire room," Ryan was saying, his voice tinged with nostalgia and affection. "It was at that moment that I knew I was hopelessly in love." Andrew chuckled softly. "I know exactly what you mean. She had that look that made you feel like you were the only person in the world." Lily held her breath, moved by the way these two men, united by their love for the same woman, had managed to forge a friendship based on mutual respect and shared affection for her. "You know," Andrew continued, his voice more serious now, "there was a time when I feared I wouldn't live to see this day. When I was diagnosed, but here you are," Ryan interrupted, his voice firm and comforting, "fighting every day, living every moment. Emma would be proud, Andrew. And Lily adores you." Lily decided it was time to make her entrance. "And he's right," she said, entering the study with her eyes bright with emotion. "I adore you both." Andrew stood up to hug Lily, his movement slower but no less warm than 5 years ago. The treatment for his illness had been tough, but with everyone's support, especially Lily's, he had managed to maintain a quality of life that doctors considered almost miraculous. "Ready for the big surprise?" Ryan asked, winking. Lily laughed. "The surprise that everyone knows about except the birthday boy?" "Absolutely." Together, they went out to the terrace where all the guests were waiting. Catherine, who had gone from being Andrew's assistant to a close family friend, approached with a cake in her hands, 50 candles burning brightly. "Happy birthday, Andrew!" Everyone chorused in unison. Andrew, visibly moved, looked around. There were all the people he loved. Lily, the unexpected gift that had given new meaning to his life. Martin and Isabel, who had welcomed him as part of their family with a generosity that still amazed him. Ryan, who had gone from being a threatening figure in his mind to a close friend and constant support. Sophia, whose courage in revealing the truth had made this new reality possible, and all the friends and colleagues who had stood by him in good times and bad. "Before I blow out the candles," Andrew said, his voice laden with emotion, "I want to thank you all for being here. 5 years ago, when I received my diagnosis, I feared it was the beginning of the end. But thanks to all of you, it has been the beginning of the best stage of my life." He turned to Lily, taking her hand. "Lily, you have been my anchor, my inspiration. Getting to know you, being part of your life, has been the greatest gift I could have asked for." Lily, with tears in her eyes, hugged Andrew. "And you have been my connection to a part of me that I always longed to know. Thank you for being not just my biological mother's husband, but a second father to me." Ryan approached, guitar in hand. "And now, if you'll allow me, Andrew and I have a little musical surprise for all of you." The chords of a familiar melody began to sound. Lily immediately recognized the song. It was the same one Ryan had been playing in the park the day they met. But now, with Andrew accompanying him, the song had evolved. It was no longer a melody of loss and regret, but a celebration of love, family, and second chances. As the music filled the air, Lily looked around, her heart overflowing with gratitude. She saw her parents, Martin and Isabel, dancing softly, their love as strong as ever. She saw Sophia, with tears of happiness in her eyes, finally at peace with the decisions of the past. And she saw Andrew and Ryan, two men united by their love for Emma and for her, creating something beautiful together. At that moment, Lily felt Emma's presence stronger than ever, not as a painful absence, but as a force of love that had united all these people in unexpected and wonderful ways. When the song ended, amidst applause and cheers, Andrew approached to blow out the candles. Lily, standing beside him, whispered, "Make a wish." Andrew smiled, looking around once more before blowing out the candles. He didn't need to make a wish. Everything he had ever wanted was there, on that terrace, in that perfect moment. As everyone applauded and the party continued, Lily found herself reflecting on the incredible journey these last 5 years had been. She had discovered her roots, gained an extended family, and found an inner strength she didn't know she possessed. Andrew's diagnosis, though initially terrifying, had in many ways been a catalyst for living life to the fullest. Together, they had faced each day as an adventure, each obstacle as an opportunity to grow closer. Ryan had become a constant presence in their lives, sharing stories about Emma, filling in the gaps of family history with his music and affection. Lily had discovered she had her biological father's musical talent, and guitar sessions had become a cherished ritual between them. Martin and Isabel, far from feeling threatened by this extended family, had embraced it wholeheartedly. Their unconditional love had been the foundation upon which this new reality had been built. As the party continued, Lily found herself alone with Andrew for a moment in a quiet corner of the terrace. "How are you feeling?" she asked. Noticing he looked a bit tired, Andrew smiled, that smile that always managed to reassure her. "I'm fine, Lily. Better than fine. I'm happy." Lily nodded, understanding perfectly. "You know, sometimes I think about what my life would have been like if you hadn't noticed my necklace that day in your office. Fate works in mysterious ways," Andrew reflected, "but I think, somehow, Emma was guiding us, bringing all the pieces together." "I know," Lily said softly. "Sometimes I can feel her, you know, in Ryan's music, in your stories, in my parents' love. It's as if she never really left." Andrew hugged her, feeling a lump in his throat. "She would be so proud of you, Lily, of the woman you've become, of how you've handled all of this." "Of us," Lily corrected. "She would be proud of all of us, of how we've created something beautiful out of secrets and pain." At that moment, Ryan approached them, a warm smile on his face. "Am I interrupting?" "Never," Lily replied, extending an arm to include him in the hug. They stayed like that for a moment, the three of them united, each thinking of Emma and the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. Finally, they separated upon hearing Isabel's voice calling them, "Come on, it's time to cut the cake." As they headed back to the group, Lily paused for a moment, looking at the sky. The sun was shining brightly, like a blessing on this perfect day. "Thank you, Mum," she whispered to the wind, "for everything." And so, surrounded by love, with a reconciled past and a future full of promises, Lily joined her family. A family formed not only by blood ties, but by choice, by love, by forgiveness, and by the will to create something beautiful out of the most unexpected circumstances. As Andrew cut the cake, with Lily on one side and Ryan on the other, with Martin, Isabel, and Sophia smiling nearby, and all their friends and loved ones around them, it was clear that this was not a story that was ending, but one that continued to evolve, grow, and surprise. It was the story of a family, an unconventional family, perhaps, but one united by the strongest love of all, the one that overcomes obstacles, forgives mistakes, and celebrates second chances. And as the afternoon sun bathed the scene in a warm golden glow, they all felt, deep in their hearts, that the best was yet to come. As the party wound down and guests began to leave, Lily found herself sitting on the terrace steps, looking out at the New York skyline. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, a fitting end to a day filled with love and celebration. She felt a presence beside her and looked up to see Catherine, Andrew's former assistant and now a dear friend, sitting down next to her. "Quite a day, huh?" Catherine said, smiling softly. Lily nodded, returning the smile. "It's been perfect. I never imagined 5 years ago that we'd all be here like this." Catherine chuckled. "I remember when you first walked into Andrew's office, the look on his face when he saw your necklace. I knew something big was about to happen." Lily's hand instinctively went to the crescent moon pendant around her neck. It's funny how something so small can change so much. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching as the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the city's skyscrapers. "You know," Catherine said thoughtfully, "I've worked in the corporate world for a long time, and I've seen a lot of families torn apart by secrets and lies. But what you all have created here, it's something special, Lily." Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest at Catherine's words. "Thank you. It hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth it," a voice finished for her. Lily and Catherine turned to see Andrew approaching, Ryan close behind. Andrew sat down on Lily's other side, while Ryan remained standing, leaning against the railing. "Every struggle, every difficult conversation, every tear," Andrew continued, "it's all been worth it to have this family." Ryan nodded in agreement. "I spent so many years running from my past, from the pain of losing Emma. I never imagined that facing it would bring me so much joy." Lily looked at these two men, both fathers to her in different ways, and felt overwhelmed with love. "I'm so grateful for both of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And for my parents, and Sophia, and everyone who's been part of this journey." Just then, Martin and Isabel appeared at the terrace door, with Sophia beside them. "There you all are," Isabel said warmly. "We were wondering where the party had gone." As they joined the group on the terrace, Lily couldn't help but marvel at the sight. Here they were, this mismatched group of people brought together by fate, choice, and love, now an inseparable family. "You know," Sophia said, breaking the comfortable silence that had fallen, "Emma always believed that love could conquer anything. I think she'd be amazed to see how right she was." Andrew smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "She was always wiser than the rest of us." "To Emma," Ryan said, raising an imaginary glass, "for bringing us all together, even after she was gone." "To Emma," they all echoed, their voices blending in the quiet evening air. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Lily felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey hadn't been easy, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead. Andrew's health was still a constant concern, and navigating the complexities of their unique family dynamic would always require effort and understanding. But looking around at the faces of those she loved, her adoptive parents who had given her a lifetime of love and support, her biological father who had become a cherished part of her life, Andrew who had become a second father and a link to the mother she never knew, Sophia who had been brave enough to reveal the truth, and friends like Catherine who had stood by them through it all, Lily knew that together they could face anything. As the night grew deeper and the city lights twinkled below, the family remained on the terrace, sharing stories, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. They spoke of Emma, of the past they had all shared without knowing it, and of the future they were building together. In that moment, Lily realized that her family was like the city spread out before them. A beautiful, complex tapestry woven from diverse threads, each one essential, each one adding its own unique color and strength to the whole. And as she leaned her head on Andrew's shoulder, with Ryan's gentle guitar strumming in the background and the warm presence of her parents and Sophia nearby, Lily knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The necklace that had started it all glinted in the moonlight, a reminder of the mother she never knew but whose love had set in motion this extraordinary chain of events. Lily touched it gently, silently thanking Emma for the incredible gift she had given them all, the gift of each other. As the night wore on and the conversation flowed, Lily realized that this wasn't just Andrew's birthday celebration anymore. It was a celebration of their family, of the love that had brought them together and the love that would carry them forward. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever joys and sorrows the future might bring, they would face them together as a family. An unconventional, unexpected, and utterly perfect family. And as the first light of a new day began to peek over the horizon, Lily knew that this was just the beginning of their story. There were many more chapters yet to be written, many more moments to be shared, and much more love to be given and received. In that moment, surrounded by the people she loved most in the world, Lily felt truly, completely whole, and she knew, deep in her heart, that Emma was smiling down on them all.